Hey everyone, Wayne Fox here, kind of in my stay-at-home mode. I hope everybody's staying safe out there. Seems prudent that we all try to do our part to not spread this virus till they can kind of figure out better treatments and better methods to handle it. Because of my age, I'm a little bit of a high risk, so I'm staying at home. And as I thought about it, I've reminded me of a project I've been working on. I've done a few videos on this Epson FF680 scanner, and thought I would update a couple things for those that are tackling some projects while they're kind of on isolation at home. First of all, let's talk about the new software that Epson came out with. And then I'm going to follow up and talk a little bit about using other than Epson software. VueScan software actually works better with the scanner than you would imagine. Yeah, it presents some challenges, but it's still fairly automatic. And so I'm going to go through that as well in the video. And if you're interested more in that part, I'll put a timestamp right up there, and you can just skip the next part. So recently, Epson did release some new software, and I've got version 2.19. Now, you can only get 2.19 if you download it from, I got it from the UK Epson site. The United States Epson site still has 2.18. Now, the previous scans I've done on my other videos, that was with versions 2.17. So both of those are updates. But the results I'm showing you are using 2.19. Just going to compare the scans I did with 2.17 back in the same photographs, and real quickly show that bottom line is it doesn't really change anything. So let's just take a look on the computer, and we'll just look at that right now. All right, so here we have three scans of the same image. The left scan is the one I scanned back in, I think this was like in November last year, 5-6 months ago. The middle one is with the new software with Auto Enhance turned off. And the right one is the new software with Auto Enhance turned on. If you want to take a look at these, if we look at these up close, or let's just kind of scan through them, we can see that they're actually pretty close. So this is with, let's see, the old one is with Auto Enhance off as well. And the reason I can tell that, I believe, is that there's not as much noise. If you look in this area right in here, compared to over here, you'll see that this has a little more noise in it. And that's where the Auto Enhance came into problems. Let's just scroll through a few of these really quick just so you can get an idea of the comparison. Not a lot of difference. My recommendation, now these are really old photographs. They're really faded pretty bad. I still think for the most part I'm getting better quality with Auto Enhance off, but with color restoration on. These do look quite a bit better than the originals as far as the color. This one, for example, the original is very low in contrast, very red. And this one looks pretty good. So anyway, not much change in the software. I don't really think it's a big deal. If you'll notice here that let's just take a look at a couple of the reasons I recommend Auto Enhance off. Let's go back up to this one. But if I compare this one to, let's just go to the toolbar here, and let's just do a side-by-side with this one. And you'll see that with Auto Enhance on, we just have a lot more noise in these dark areas. And so it's a lot cleaner if we leave Auto Enhance off. I still recommend that you do that. So not much change in the software. The file sizes are exactly the same. So the issue of 600 DPI files being way larger than they should be, both TIFF and JPEG. The JPEG should be about 1 megabyte and they're 9. And the TIFF file should be about 18 megabytes and they're like 24. So as you can see, upgrading to the software won't change anything. File sizes don't change. You've still got the bug. Now, one thing I have been able to reach out to a good friend of mine who runs a nice website, and Kevin Raber. He's well known through the industry, and he has some pretty good inside contacts with Epson who he's reached out to. And I think within another month or so, I might be able to get some feedback on this bug. But in the meantime, another option you have would be to use a program called VueScan. Now, VueScan isn't free. I think it's like $40. I'll look that up and I'll put a price here when I get it. And it isn't as automatic or automated as Epson Fast Photo, but it's at least somewhat automated. And it does present an option, especially if you want to use a 600 DPI scan. Now, the Fast Photo software, if you're using 600 DPI JPEGs, you're going to end up like 8-9 megabytes a piece. And with the VueScan software, they're only going to be about 2 megabytes a piece. Now, that's still bigger than they probably should be. And the one thing we're going to find out as we use the VueScan software, some of the anomalies we're seeing and some of the weirdness is due to the scan mechanism itself. VueScan can't get any better quality out of it than the Epson can. Now, VueScan does have a couple of advantages and a couple of disadvantages. So let's just scan these same photographs using VueScan and look at what we get and compare to what we would get with Fast Photo. And then you can decide if it's an option that you'd like to give it a try. So the first thing we need to do is go to the website, which is hamrick.com. you can try VueScan for free. Now be aware that the free version doesn't give you any usable scans because there'll be a big watermark on them all, but it will allow you to evaluate the quality and play with the software and decide if you want to buy it later. There are two versions if you purchase it. I tried the standard edition first. You'll notice here it says no automatic document feeders. That's actually not true. I was able to use the automatic document feeder without any problem. Now, I don't know if the professional mode gives more features, and in this case, I actually did buy the professional mode. And after I show you how to use the standard mode, we're going to try it just to see if it's any better as far as the document feeder. Once you install it, you just need to launch it. There's a few quirks I found with the software that kind of threw me, so I save you some time so you don't have to discover them yourself. The first page, you get all the settings, and we're going to leave it in standard mode, and then we'll try professional here in a minute. It gives you the list of scanners that's online, and including this is a webcam, so you can actually use some cameras for it. Duplex Feeder will scan the front and back of everything you put through it. Document Feeder only scans the document side. Unfortunately, it has no ability to look for printing on the back and scan the back only if there's printing. So Fast Photo has a nice advantage there. Media size, I found that the only way you can really get consistent results is to take the size of the image you're going to scan, including the orientation, and put it in manually. Now, I have a 3.5 by 5, but I need to scan a 5 by 3.5, and I don't know if you can put them through this way or not. I don't even think the scanner will go that narrow. Yeah, it will, but I'm just going to go ahead and change that. So I'm going to say 5 by 3.5. Batch scan is on. Rotation, there is no automatic rotation, so I can't tell the scanner to try to figure it out. The Fast Photo software isn't great at that, but at least does it, and it does work some of the time. This is the default folder you're going to save the images to. You can go and put it anywhere you want. And then this is the file name that you're going to use. It'll give you a couple of choices here. In this case, what I did is I just used the year and the month. And then I don't need a 4-digit. I just need a 3-digit. And so the 000 or 001 and a plus symbol means it's going to sequence the files. It is smart enough that it won't overwrite. So if you scan 20 images to a folder, you scan 20 more, it will start with the last number and it won't rewrite even if you leave that number at 1. One caveat here, if you click this and you set a path, so if I go here and I go temporary files and I just, in fact, let's click this and I'm going to go new folder and I'm going to call this junk. And now I set that. What's going to happen is this default folder is going to get overridden. And so to be honest, this might be a better way to set your folder, because every time you make the folder, even though this is a JPEG file name, it also sets the path. So each of your batches of scans, you don't have to change the default folder that often. Works out pretty good. We're going to go ahead and cancel that. Let's just go back to what we had. But I couldn't figure out, for a long time I was scanning, I couldn't figure out why they were never going to the right place. That's because I kept putting them back in this JPEG file name because that folder was in there. As far as the crop, I'm going to leave it to maximum, which means it's the full 3.5 by 5. If you go to other crop sizes, I found auto messes it up kind of. Maximum seems to work the best. Filter, we will use restore colors, restore fading. Color, we'll leave this alone. I think you could adjust some contrast and brightness with this a little bit. I assume in the professional version, I have a lot more control and I can correct the color a little bit better. We're going to have the scan size, the printed size, so it's going to be a 3.5 by 5, and that's just a metadata number. And we're going to save it as a JPEG, and let's just see how big they are. So I think we've got everything set, so let's take our stack of photographs. Again, we'll put them face forward, and here you would run into one problem. If you decide to use VueScan, one of the first things you'll find is that you're going to have to scan from back to front, and then they'll all be backwards. So your first file will be the last one in the folder. And so if you want to, you'll have to figure out some way to flip those. And there are a couple ways to do that. I'm not going to go into that, but that is one disadvantage of this. The Epson software now fixes all that for you if you do it the right way. So just hit scan. And the first thing you'll notice is it's not as fast. It's actually going and fixing everything as it goes. It's doing color restoration and all that. The Epson software scans them faster, but then it does take some time to fix them. I don't know if I did 100 files or 100 shots, which one would win, if this is a lot slower, because it's done scanning, but as you can see on my screen, it's still going through each of these files basically one at a time, and it's got to go through, it's not skipping the back of these blank ones. All right, once you're done, there's no way to review this in the software like you can with the Epson Fast Photo. So all you can do is go over to the Finder or Explorer and look at them there. And we'll just open that folder up, and here they are. What I typically do on the Mac is I go to Icon View, I select all, and then I clean up by name. And then I will have to do that a couple times and so that I can get an even number. So select all, clean up by name. And now I've got them in pairs. You'll notice that there's a matching back for every front. No way to get rid of that. This is the only one that counts. And there's no way to know that this one and this one are associated with each other because they're just different names. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all these backs that I don't need. So we're going to drag all those out. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this one to be 10A so that I actually know which this belongs to. Now the next thing you can do is you can go ahead and you can use Quick Look on the Mac, and you can go ahead and fix your rotation. So on the Mac, the normal rotation is counterclockwise. Now I'm going to use the down arrow to go to the next one. And if you need to go the other way, you just hold the Option key down, it'll go the other way. So I can arrow through these one at a time. Okay, so now we've got the orientation set on all of them. So what let's do now is let's import these into Lightroom, and we will do side-by-sides on what we're getting with the Epson software. The one thing I will show you real quickly is, let's just, before we do that, let me just do this real quick. Let's throw these back in. And we're going to go back to our software, and we're going to scan these as JPEG, but we're going to go to 600 DPI on the scanner. And again, we're going to go to, I'm going to set these to a different folder so I can keep them separate. And let's real quick scan them at 600 DPI now. All the settings are staying the same other than that. And you'll notice how much slower it is. Now with the Epson software, this is about 5 seconds a piece, maybe 3 to 5 seconds a piece. This will be slower, but it's actually not, I think it's closer to the same speed. The main thing I want to do here is just see what the file sizes are, because we know right now if we were doing this on the Epson software, we'd be getting file sizes of around 9 megabytes per file. And they really should be around 1 to 1.5 megabytes, depending on how aggressively the JPEG compression is set. All right, let's go back over to the Finder here, and then we're going to find that folder, which is right there. So you can see this is 1.7, 1.6. So these file sizes are somewhat reasonable. They're probably a little bigger than they need, but maybe they're not compressing. Quality on these is pretty good. So as the 600 DPI scanner, each scan will take 1/6 of the space as it does on the Epson. So at least it's smart enough to do that right. So I'll be right back in a minute. I'm going to suck these into Lightroom, and we'll do some comparisons just to see about the quality. Okay, so I've loaded these all up. I've compared them with using Epson software, the most recent version. The auto enhance is turned off. One thing I can do here is if I enlarge this, I can get a side-by-side. And I think one thing you'll notice is quality-wise is extremely similar, other than the color. The VueScan software seems to be a little bit, I don't know if you'd call it more neutral. It's maybe a little bit to the greenish side. And I don't know which you prefer. Both are probably acceptable for snapshots. I'm thinking it's probably closer to the original color, but it might not be as pleasing as I scroll down through these. As far as the overall quality, I don't think there's much difference. You can see the noise is really not a lot of difference. I think it's probably pretty good. You notice here that I got better contrast on the original Epson software. The other thing you'll notice is every one of these are crooked, whereas the Fast Photo software, it's going to crop in and get rid of the fact that it can't get the prints aligned really straight. This software can do it, so a lot of them are going to show edges, and you probably have to manually fix that. Let's go down to the bottom one where we can really see a little bit about the noise issue. Look into the blackness here. We can see I don't think it's any better. I don't think that it offers the ability to get a better scan. In fact, to me, the fast photo one is the better scan here. So real quick, let's compare it to the 600 DPI though. One thing you'll notice in the 600 DPI is we probably do see slightly improved noise characteristics, because in the case of the 600 DPI, we're going to scale that down. We're going to, kind of push that down. And so I think that anytime you take an image that has noise and you reduce the file size, by nature that tends to soften or eliminate some of the noise. This is a real good example. You can see the noise here and up in here is actually much improved. So one advantage of scanning to 600 and then maybe having software compress it down to 300 is you would get a little bit less noise in the image. Let's just take a look at the bottom one where it shows up the most. And as you can see, there's a little less noise in the black here than there is over here. Whether it's worth the extra work or not, I don't know. So the last thing, let's just take a look at what the Professional Edition adds. So if I switch from standard to professional, we do get a few other options. We can scan to something other than a file. So we can scan directly to a printer, for example. This is not the same, so I don't think it gives me any duplex feeder options. Go down, and it does have an auto rotate. I did test this and it doesn't actually do anything. So I don't see a lot of really options here. The one thing I will notice, we can shrink the borders slightly, which will eliminate some of those edges that we're showing. I'm going to put this to -3. Additionally, on the first page, there's another option that we can turn on, which is called auto skew. And this auto skew will attempt to straighten the images. So even though they're going through crooked, it should help eliminate the edges of the print showing in the scans. Filter, same options basically. Color, we have a lot more options, including correction of color, contrast. This would mean that we could correct the scans to get them more what we wanted, something we can't do with fast photo software at all. As far as output, we can magnify it if we want. I'm not sure what use that is. And we actually have the ability to change the Jpeg quality. So we could scale this down, for example, to 70, and on a 600 DPI scan would probably have a smaller file size. This tells me that the default is maybe 90, and that's why they're 1.5 megabytes. But that would give us 600 DPI files that are a little smaller. 70 should be plenty good enough for the things that we're doing. So what I thought we would do is let's just go ahead and save these files somewhere. We'll go ahead and use the JPEG file name. We'll set it to its own folder. And I'm just going to go ahead and save it into this. I already did this once. Let's just go take a look at the results. And if we go here, these were done with the professional version. And I think the easiest way to see these is we just need to look at them and open them up. You'll notice as I go through these that they're all pretty square and there's not a lot of extra. So that is a nice change. It probably saves you a little bit of time. Again, if you scan at 600 DPI, you're going to be able to get more usable file sizes. So I guess my thought would be if you're going to scan at 600 DPI, maybe paying the extra might be useful. It is going to be quite a bit more work because they aren't going to be in order in the box. It can't fix that. So you've got to kind of solve that problem. And I think for most people, based on what the quality of the scanner, you'll notice that even though I'm using different scanner software, they can't get any more quality out of it than Epson can, which tells me that the quality is limited by the hardware. The scanner bar they're using, it's kind of a compromise between speed and quality. They could probably use a higher end scanner bar and do things a little slower. And to be honest, it would be nice if they, I think that's probably what they should do. If they could do 2.5 seconds of scan, but get rid of this noise problem and give you better scans, I think they should do it. Because, you can leave it unattended, but be that as may, this is what it is. The other thing about VueScan, though, that might make it useful is if you have a flatbed scanner already, or if you're going to buy a low price flatbed scanner, VueScan works with just about any of them out there. And I do think it will help you go through a box of pictures, and certainly not as fast as this. You're not going to do one a second. So let's find out exactly how that process works and how long it will take. And that's the video I'm working on now. I should have that out in another week or two, I hope. In the meantime, if you are interested in some more of this kind of stuff, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I've also got some Lightroom videos that are getting close to finished. And if this kind of stay-at-home mode lasts for a month or so, then probably even get more than I'm used to, although I'm finding myself doing a lot of odd jobs around the house. It's kind of a, I'm fortunate that I'm retired, so this really doesn't affect my job. I feel for those that are sitting at home right now because they've had to close their businesses or not do things, and let's hope that we can all get through this thing in a decent way. And I wish all of you the best. Be safe out there. And until next time, see ya.